Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to Truth, Trust, and Trajectory with your girl Nchukym Bee. Yes, it's been a while since I've dropped an episode. Y'all relax, I'm back. If you're new here, this is a space for real women healing from real pain. Here we talk truth, we rebuild trust, and we walk boldly in our trajectory, the path God designed before the pain tried to rewire it. So before we get started, please make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with a sister who needs it. And to take it a little further, make sure you guys visit my website, nchukymbee.com, for healing tools, workbooks, and community resources. You can find the link in my bio, and it'll also be linked down below. So I want to just jump right into this episode because today's episode is about a truth that so many of us have lived, but few of us want to face. And that is falling in love with a man's potential instead of his reality. So sometimes love doesn't end with a fight. Sometimes it ends with a moment of clarity. It could look like a quiet realization that what you're holding on to is no longer holding on to you. Some time ago, I ended a relationship that has been breaking me slowly, and it lasted for almost a year. This time, it was not out of anger, it was solely about my peace. For so long, I kept believing that if I just loved him harder, if I prayed for him a little longer and waited patiently, he would become the man that I saw in my head. But unfortunately, for a lot of us, potential does not pay attention to your prayers. It actually distracts you from reality. I told him some time ago that I felt like we were too toxic together and that maybe we needed to take a step back and just be friends. This mainly was because of the vulnerable situation that he was in. So in my head, I felt like I still owed him a level of obligation and loyalty to help him through his hard time. But I learned the hard way that sometimes you cannot love or help a person through anything, especially if they don't want it. What ended up happening was that he threw it back at me. He told me that I was only good for sex and that I was ugly. It was at that moment that something inside of me snapped, but it snapped in the best way. It didn't happen out of rage, it happened out of an awakening. What I realized was that I wasn't actually in love with him. I was in love with who I thought that he could be. I kept seeing bits and pieces of his potential. So he would change just long enough to get me to get my guard down and then go right back to who he fundamentally was. So, the trauma cycle of it all. For almost a year, I was caught in a cycle. He would emotionally disappear, he would physically disappear, he would gaslight me, emotionally abuse me, and then he would come back to me with words like, I love you, or you're the only one that understands me. Or, I don't want any of these other girls. None of them can do what you do for me. They're all gold diggers. They just want to use me. They're all looking for a man to fund their life, right? And every single time I would open the door, like love could ease the damage. The thing about it was that he had to change just enough to keep me looped in. But he would never change because I kept showing up as his rehabilitation center instead of his partner. I kept thinking that if I just loved him enough, he would finally get it. He would start to see my worth. But the actual truth about it is he already saw it. He probably saw my potential and my value long before I did. And that's why he used it against me. He fell in love with the fact that I was so nurturing and how forgiving I was and how loving I was. He loved the fact that I showed him the best, and even when he was giving me his absolute worst. But the bottom line is that he never truly loved me. He loved the benefits of having me. And that right there is where so many of us lose ourselves. We confuse endurance with devotion. We think that if we just stick it out a little longer, if we become a little bit more compromising, if we become a little bit more understanding, that finally it will come across to the other person and they would get it. They would finally see us and start doing right by us. We end up calling it loyalty when it's actually self-betrayal. We've been conditioned to see ourselves as healers. We see ourselves as the women who fix, hold, and rebuild broken men. But what we rarely ask is the question of who is actually the one that is in charge or responsible for healing us. And I talk about this on one of my earlier episodes about self accountability and the part we play in a lot of the trauma that we go through and these sort of relational dynamics, and how we intentionally, unintentionally gaslight and blind ourselves based on someone's potential. So, the truth about potential, it's dangerous. It will literally it will have you praying for a man who doesn't even pray for himself. It will have you clinging on to hope while you are ignoring the patterns. And it will have you defending dysfunction because you see his good side. I remember defending this man from friends and family members, trying to protect his image so that no one would view him in a negative light. And I remember, the moment I decided I was no longer doing that, and I would reach out to my sister or my friend, and he took it as a direct attack on him instead of, wow, look at what I'm doing to this woman that I claim to love. And the fact that she actually feels like this, she feels unsafe enough to come to me with her issues. But none of that truly matters, right? What matters is that potential will keep you in the waiting room of love. It will have you sitting there with an expired ticket, hoping that someone will finally call your name. I used to think that loving a man through his pain was spiritual. I used to think that that was my purpose and that it was a test. And that, if I passed it, it would finally pay off. And that he would finally value me and see me and appreciate me for the good woman that I am, for holding him down, for having his back. Maybe not quite in the way that he wanted me to, but in the way that I was capable of showing up. No, I can't move you into my house, but I will give you a place to lay your head when you can't find anywhere else. No, you can't move in, but if you're hungry, I'll feed you. If you're sad, I will comfort and console you. Sometimes these things are not enough. And for a person that seeks out chaos, it will never be enough because they are only looking at you for how you can benefit them. With that being said, staying through chaos is what made me loyal. But love without boundaries becomes bondage. And when you're constantly explaining, when you are constantly fixing, and you are constantly excusing, you are not in love anymore. You are literally in survival mode. I can't tell you how many nights I sat up in silence staring at the ceiling, or how many nights I've cried unconsolably, wondering if I was the problem, if I was crazy. Maybe if I just give in to his demands, maybe if I just give him what he wants, he will be kinder to me. He will finally see me. But I had to learn the hard way that you cannot give someone more of what they already don't appreciate and think that they are going to finally and miraculously start viewing you from a different lens, because that will never happen. Because how can someone say that they love you and then turn around and tear you down with the same exact mouth? I kept hoping that the good moments were really him, and that the bad moments were just the trauma talking. But what I learned is this: you cannot build peace with someone who is committed to chaos. I remember having a conversation and I thought that I was getting through to him and really expressing my frustration and how, unseen and unsafe that I felt in his presence because of how he would respond or react to my grievances. And, I was trying to figure out any way to reach and connect to him, to let him know, like, hey, I'm not your enemy. I'm here to love you. I'm here to value. I'm here to hold space for you. I'm here to protect you. I just need you to see me. I need you to respect me. I need you to love me. And it took about an hour during this conversation for him to finally, get off of the defense and to actually hear me. And I thought that he did, and I thought that he understood. And boy, oh boy, was I wrong. I was so wrong. Because literally 2 days, he was literally right back at it. I'd given him my location, you know, I had given him transparency, I had given him validation, reassurance. And it was like, when we were in a safe space, a calm time, he would look for something, anything, even if he had to make it up in his mind to make me the villain, because I had to perpetuate this perception of women that he already had in his mind. And the thing about it is, when a person already has their mind made up, a grown person, you cannot change their mind. You cannot make them see something different if they don't want to. And in his mind, women are untrustworthy. Women are just for sex and entertainment, something to fill in the void. And I knew that. I knew better. But I just didn't listen to myself. So, the mirror moment. There's something about heartbreak that strips away the illusion. It forces you to meet yourself without the mask. And when I looked in that mirror after the last argument, I didn't see a broken woman. I saw someone who had finally outgrown her own pain. I saw that little girl that kept trying to earn love by fixing people. And I saw the woman who kept lowering her standards because she was afraid to be alone. I was talking to my sister, and, we had a really interesting conversation and little sidebar. We actually started a whole new podcast. It's called No Labels, Just Vibes. It is here on YouTube, soon on Apple and Spotify. So if you guys go to my page, you will actually find an external link to that. Our first episode was absolutely diabolical. It got a lot of positive feedback. So I want you guys to head over there and check that out. Make sure you guys subscribe, show some love. But, she's a licensed therapist. And so she had asked me, about the fear. What is it that you feel like you would be missing out on, you know, basically by keeping this person or not keeping this person? And she pointed out a pattern, a cycle that was kind of like I was aware of, but not 100%, right? The thing that holds me back from dating other people is that fear of the unknown. And when you're fearful of the unknown, what is known becomes safe. It's like, I know this person is no good for me. I know they don't have the best intentions for me. I know that being with them hurts me a lot more than not being with them, right? But it's that fear of being alone. It's that fear of abandonment. It's that fear of rejection. It's that fear of being left out that kept me tied into this dynamic. And then it was like, if I started talking to someone new, they would do something, and it would be like, yeah, no. So then I'd go back to what I knew because it was safe. I had programmed my mind to accept disrespect. I had programmed my mind to accept the abuse, right? Because that, in my mind at the time, was better than venturing out and finding someone that is potentially a lot better, that I'm more aligned with, that doesn't use gaslighting or manipulation as a form of control, that doesn't try to dumb down my intellect. Maybe someone that's patient, understanding, and kind, as opposed to callous, cruel, and cold, right? And so, with that, I also saw the healer part of me who forgot to save herself. I realized that every time I said, he just needs my help, what I really meant was that I am afraid to let go because I don't know what's on the other side. Because letting go means that you have to face that emptiness. But here's the truth. Sometimes that emptiness is where you finally get to meet God. So the lesson for any woman that is listening who keeps holding on to the potential of a man or a person, I just really need you to ask yourself something. What is it that you are losing while you're waiting for him to become the man or the woman that you deserve. What are you losing? What dreams have you put on pause trying to build his or hers? And what version of yourself have you silenced just to keep him or her comfortable? You cannot love someone into healing. You cannot talk someone into accountability. And you cannot make someone ready for love if they are still addicted to chaos. It is okay to let them go. It's okay to let that fantasy go. Sometimes you have to let the woman that you were in that relationship die. And I will say this again. Sometimes you have to let the woman that you were in that relationship die. You have to put her to rest. And because no one likes funerals, because it's resonant of a loss, that's how we perceive that. That's why we hold on to things for so long. But you have to know that she did the best that she could with what she knew. And she did the best that she could with the tools that she had. But now it's time for you to evolve. Because when you stop falling for potential, you start to fall for peace. When you stop chasing what could have been, you start to embrace what is. You can start looking at things from a very objective standpoint. Yes, I know, he said he was going to change, but has he? He said he was going to get a job. Does he have one? He said that he was going to stop delivering so much lip service and actually show you, only to show up with more lip service. And at some point, you can't continue to blame the other person. You have to take accountability for the things that you're accepting and allowing. Because people only get away with what you let them. And that was direct advice from a very dear friend of mine. So when you stop chasing what could be, you then start to embrace what is. And what is you. Whole, worthy, healing, and done settling for almost love. So I just want to end this episode off with a reflection and affirmation break. So I want you guys to take a deep breath with me, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now I want you guys to repeat after me. I am no longer available for half love and empty promises. I no longer confuse pain with passion. I no longer invest in potential. Instead, I honor my peace. I release every version of me that thought love had to hurt. I choose myself. You are not hard to love. You just put your heart in the wrong hands. And you are not bitter. You are breaking free. And your softness, that is your power. Don't you ever dare dim it again. So I want to thank I want to thank you guys for spending this hour with me, half hour, and for sitting in this truth, this trust, and this trajectory. Remember, healing is not about finding someone new. It's about rediscovering the woman you were before you forgot your worth. If today's episode spoke to your spirit, please make sure you guys subscribe and share it. And make sure you guys head over to my website, nchukymbee.com. It will be linked down below, also in my bio, for more tools to support your healing journey. I have everything from my trauma recovery workbooks to our sisterhood community over on Patreon. And if no one has told you today, you are loved, you are seen, and you are still becoming. Until next time, keep trusting your truth, walking in your trajectory, and learning to love in. Okay, bye.